So you may be dealing with a chronic respiratory infection that you may think that you're in for the long haul. But what I want you to know is that doesn't have to be the case. In fact, there's been a certain medical procedure that's happened over the last couple of years that has created some chronic conditions, and thus why you may be thinking that you're in this for the long haul. What I want to discuss specifically through this is that medical treatment that may have happened has created something within the body called spike proteins. And those spike proteins, actually what they do within the body is they actually can create a clumping of red blood cells. That's actually known as rouleau formation. And what it really looks like is, if you're to look under a microscope, your red blood cells, in a sense, they begin to stack. And when they're stacking, they're sticky and they're holding together, and that can create thus then a clot. That can create other issues within the body. Many symptoms begin to manifest from this, such as fatigue. It creates heart issues. There's been cases of even heart attacks, even strokes, because your blood actually has to travel from large vessels to smaller vessels and then eventually through capillaries. And when you have this rouleau formation, this stacking of the red blood cells, they aren't actually able to form. Red blood cells actually bend when they're actually going through those capillaries, and if they can't bend and get through, they get clogged. And so that can create obviously very serious health conditions. One of the research articles that I love referencing is by Dr. Thomas Levy. The man is a genius, quite honestly, and has developed multiple protocols and helped to even bring in things like high-dose vitamin C into the US, and helping clinics to utilize high-dose vitamin C as well to help with, honestly, chronic infections. Spike protein, he's written multiple books, Curing the Incurable. I would definitely look him up. But one of the things he also was researching specifically with this is utilizing IV ozone therapy. And through his research, and what he found is that, and not necessarily his research, it's more so the compilation of the material that he's put together, is showing how modalities like IV ozone therapy can actually help to break up that rouleau formation. It actually helps to create permeability, or in a sense, easily to understand, bendability of those red blood cells again to get through the capillaries. So pre and post microscopy has actually shown that rouleau formation after doing ozone therapy has actually opened up those red blood cells again, releasing them from that stickiness, thus preventing really what is the clotting factor. Interesting note to also understand is that there is research out there that shows that ozone in of itself has an anti-fibrogenic effect, meaning that it can actually help with prevention of clotting as well. So those really go hand in hand, and they have a substantial benefit for those that may be dealing with respiratory infections that have been very chronic, and people think that they have to be in it for the long haul. Well, they don't, because there are some options to help with that. All right, so what we want to get to really is the root cause of this rouleau formation, and that is the spike protein. Now, how does that work? One thing that you have to understand about the spike protein is also self-replicating in the body, so it's going to continue to be produced over and over and over again. It's like a nasty weed. It just continues to grow and continues to happen, and that's what's actually causing the rouleau formation of those red blood cells combining. Now, what is it that we can actually do to get rid of that specific issue, that replication, but also get rid of the spike protein altogether? Now, we can't promise, again, treatments that we would talk about and what I'm going to discuss here in a moment are not meant to cure, treat, or prevent anything, but what we can tell you is that there is substantial evidence that shows oxidative therapies to help basically get rid of the spike protein. So things like ozone therapy, I'm going to talk about that because that's really what I'm into. But Dr. Thomas Levy also talks very specifically about nebulizing hydrogen peroxide, which is a great benefit. Red light therapy has been shown to be very beneficial. Even high-dose vitamin C. And I do not think, as I've discussed in many other videos, that it's a single treatment that actually creates that change, but it's a combination of those different therapies that creates the most beneficial effect. And that really is stopping the spike protein from creating those rouleau formations, getting rid of that spike protein, allowing the body to detox from that, which is going to help prevent a lot of those issues that we talked about before, the chronic fatigue, the heart issues, the vascular issues that are being caused by this. So if you really want to do a deep dive to get more information, just make sure that you click the link below. We're going to have the information that Dr. Levy has actually written, the article specifically on this, because if you're really wanting to get rid of it, if you're wanting to eradicate the spike protein issues, again, this is not a one and done type scenario. There are protocols, there's information, so make sure that you click that link so that you can have access to that information, because we want to make sure that you're having in the opportunity to be able to utilize things like ozone, high-dose vitamin C, nattokinase, and other things that are actually going to help to create change so that you don't have to live with this and suffer from this, because sometimes it's silent until it's not. And so if you want to be proactive, make sure you take that dive into it, click that link below, get that information, and start reading more on what you can begin to do to create change.